Today we're gonna take this 2x12 from the hardware store and see if we can make it look like an authentic dough bowl. Alright, so this is a dough bowl that Jamie picked up. We were in Texas when she got this. I don't know if it's actually old or if it's a replica. She picked it up from a boutique shop down there, but this one is 39¼ inches long by about 11½ wide and 2½ inches deep. It could be hard to find really big dough bowls, and usually when you do, even if they're replicas, all these websites are out of stock on them because they're so popular. So we're going to go ahead and make this about 39 inches, and you only need one 2x12 to do that. We're going to take two pieces and glue them together. I'm going to try to keep this as simple as possible. I know a lot of people don't have table saws or miter saws, so I'm just going to use this skill saw. Even if you don't have one, it's about a $60 to $100 investment depending on which route you go. I'm not really worried about my line being perfectly straight. If you look at this dough bowl here, it's got a really crooked edge right there. I'm going to make this board here be the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of trace the outer edge that I want to have on here. There's about a ½ inch lip on the dough bowl all the way around, so I'm going to show you how I'm going to account for that. Okay, so that other dough bowl, I'm just going to trace the outer edge, and I'm not worried about being super accurate. These things look like they're hand carved, they're old, they're beat up. So if I'm really precise, that's not going to be very authentic. So I need to have enough that I can create kind of an angle in there. So I'm going to come in about 2 inches all the way around. That way I have enough wood I can work with. And then I'm going to cut this part out with the jigsaw. Now I'm just going to drill a pilot hole, that way I can get my jigsaw down in there. So now that I have this cut out of the top part, what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace this and use this for a template for my bottom piece. That's where I'm going to cut my angles to that. Just make sure I'm kind of even all the way around. So it's got about a 30-degree pitch on the dough bowl. So what I'm going to do is adjust this right down to about 30. So I'm just going to cut it right here on the line, and then that should give me my angle out. Alright, so you notice I didn't go right up to my lines, but I've got these angles on here now so that this is the bottom of my bowl, and the top piece will sit on there just right like this. Gives me about a ½ inch lip all the way around that I can play with and get that angle that I want. Now I've got to cut the angle on this top part here, and I'm going to glue it together. I'm just going to kind of eyeball and make sure I've got even spacing around the edges, and then trace that, and I'm now going to cut the top with a 30-degree angle on it the same way I did the bottom. You'll notice on this one I cut it almost right up to the line. That way I don't have to cut as much. I want these sides to match. Okay, so we've got the bottom here all cut out and the top cut out to match that, and we've almost got a dough bowl here. What I'm going to do now is glue this together and then let that dry. It's going to need to sit overnight. I'm using Titebond 2. I like Titebond 2 because it's really strong and it dries and sets up pretty quick, but not so fast that you can't work with your piece and move it around if you need to. I got these clamps at Harbor Freight. They were about $3 a clamp. They work really great, especially on little projects like this. If you don't have access to a Harbor Freight, I'll drop a link for Amazon below. I know I've seen them on there pretty cheap before, so check that out if you need some good clamps. I'm I'm gonna let this set up for about 24 hours. All right, so here's the true facts. I don't have 24 hours to wait for this to dry. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drill some countersink holes, put some 2.5-inch screws in here. That'll hold it together while it's drying. They'll be on the bottom. I'll probably fill them with some lightweight spackle or something as they dry, and that'll stain up just fine. But I'm gonna go ahead and do that so that I can take these clamps off and start shaping it. All right, so we're about to make a really big mess. I've got this rasp bit on my angle grinder, and this is gonna chew through this wood. It's also going to make a huge mess and throw off all kinds of dust. So it's a good idea to use a respirator, some kind of dust mask, keep that out of your lungs, safety glasses. I'm gonna have my earmuffs on, and then I'm also gonna be wearing some gloves because it's gonna throw off lots of wood chips and things. All right, so the basic bowl shape is really coming along pretty well. I'm gonna go ahead now and dish out this middle some so that it has more of a scoop at the bottom and profile this outside edge. And then I'm gonna go back in, I've got a flap disc, and I'm gonna try to use this to make it look like it was chiseled. And I'm going to take the flap disc and just smooth out some of these edges, see if I can make it look like it's been chiseled instead of ground out. Okay, so the flap disc wasn't doing what I wanted, and my disc is a little worn out, so it was burning the wood. So I'm going to take the grinder and see if I can make it look like rounded chisel marks. Then I'm going to take some 60 grit sandpaper on my random orbital sander and see if I can smooth them out a little bit and see if we can make it look more like it's been chiseled. I've got the rasp bit back on the grinder. Now that I got a ton of sawdust all over the garage, it's time for the finishing touches. I'm going to use Sweet Pickins oil wax in the dark color, and I'm just going to rub this all over, and then we'll compare my dough bowl that I just made with the one that Jami already had. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pour this on and then wipe it off with my rag, wipe the whole thing down, and we'll see if I can get some of this dark color to stay down in some of these nooks and crannies that I created with the rasp on the angle grinder. So this isn't going on quite as dark as I want, so I've got the dark oil wax and I've also got a little bit left of this black oil wax. I'm going to mix them up 50-50, and then I'm going to use that on here and see if I can get it a little darker. Alright, going back with the darker mix, let's see if this makes it a little bit darker on here. Oh, it's turning it almost black. But I like it. I like that a lot. So I'm liking the dark mixed with the black oil wax a lot better. I'm gonna go ahead and rub this all in, then I'll get a clean rag and wipe back some of the stuff that isn't soaked in off and see if I can get a nice even tone on here. So the dough bowl is finished. I like the way this turned out with the dark and the black on the oil wax from Sweet Pickins. If you want to check that out or try using it, it's an awesome sealer and it can be used as like a glaze and a stain as well. And you can find that at jamirayvintage.com. So the dough bowl does not look quite like the one I patterned it after. I feel like I should have gone more oval in here. Mine sure does sit a lot flatter though. And it's gonna look real good with some fall decor in it. I'll let Jamie style that up because that's not my area of expertise. If you like this video, be sure you're sharing it, give us a thumbs up, and subscribe to Jami Ray Vintage for more DIY.